Out of all the absolutely outstanding DMs I've met, there's one thing they all truly have in common. They have a DMing style, something so inherently them that stands out in all the games they host. But this isn't nearly as hard to achieve as it might sound. It's actually incredibly easy. All we have to do is double down on what we love about DMing and let it leak into the way we prep. So in this video, we're going to go over the most common things DMs love about DMing and how to actually double down on it in a way that our players will love. And if there's multiple things that you really love about DMing, that's great, use them. I know I at least have 3 things from this list. And thanks to me for sponsoring this video by giving away a free campaign. Let's get into it. One of the most common things DMs love is when their players react to things. Where we can't control our players, we can make sure we give them loads of opportunities to react by intentionally creating situations based around what we enjoy their reactions from. But remember, some players just don't like to do certain things in certain ways, so our opportunities will only be for those that do like to react in these ways. We can't force a reaction. If you really like when your players roleplay or think outside the box, setting up scenes that include actions by NPCs or enemies as well as other useful facts about the area can help inspire more of this. Instead of just saying you arrive at a castle and 3 goblins attack, let's turn it into a scene the players have something to work with. As you crest the hill, you spot 2 goblins sitting on a log in front of a castle door bickering, while the 3rd one rummages through a bag. But when you're making this scene, make sure that it doesn't take too long. Make it short and sweet and to the point. Let your players ask the questions to fill in the details that they think are important, avoiding lengthy DM descriptions that your players might just zone out in. Instead, this will create an invitation for your players to react to, but not a demand for a reaction. What about if you love when your players obsess over NPC? Well, there's a couple things you can do to spend more time on NPCs. You can either just make a bunch of them, the throw it at the wall method and see what sticks, or you can just spend more time planning on what things the players can do with the NPC that they already love. Create hooks that align with the NPC instead of just moving on. Make them reoccurring and invite them to continue playing the game along beside the players for as long as the players are interested. Just make sure you never overshadow the players. For the next common player reaction type, and my personal favorite of this category, the unraveling mystery section. I love when my players spend an entire session just trying to figure out the hints that I have given them. And it's super easy to spend more time on. All it takes is 2 things. First, you need patience. Don't explain to them why X object they acquired is important, then you're just taking away from that time that they'll spend figuring it out themselves. Just wait for that ticking time bomb realization that it is important, even if it takes months before they realize. The second thing is just to spend time creating ways that every session subtly hooks into the mystery. I like to think of this as laying breadcrumbs. Some breadcrumbs are going to go missing, and that's alright. The key to a good trail is just to make sure that there is a lot of breadcrumbs. Now, just as a heads up, your players generally need to be pretty good at note-taking for this one. But if you have one really good note-taker, and especially if they like to share their notes, it feels so good when your players finally realize something. Just a couple of sessions ago in my game, my players literally put together an entire Google Doc to share what they thought about their theories and how they thought everything was connected, and it'll be fun to see how it unravels and if they got it right or not. Well, I know that, but they don't. I'm gonna give one more shout to all my lovelies that, like me, love to betray their players with delightfully evil twists. And I don't have any way that you can do this one more, as evil twists are really better off when they are far and few between, so they aren't too predictable. But I will say it's a wonderful time when you bring on a guest player to play as a character your party thought they murdered, and you should totally give it a shot, even if it's not something that lets you really double down on this. where it's about the players for some people, for others it's all about the world and the act of creating, spending what time and passion on the world and making it come to life. One of the most impactful things you can do for people who are really into different aspects of world building is planning before you start a campaign. And no, I don't mean plan out your whole world. I mean understand what part of your world you really love and run a campaign that lets you do that part the most. For example, if you really like making dungeons, consider making it a dungeon crawl, or where the story can progress your plot mostly within dungeons. If you really are into statistics and kind of the nerdier stuff about worlds, consider how that info you love curating can be used within different game types by the players. For example, maybe your perfect campaign is a town builder or a Game of Thrones-like campaign, as you really like info about markets or factions. Use your passions within world building to affect the type of game so you can spend more time on what you love doing. Where for most people in this section, the game type or setting is the biggest influence you can get, some people like me really enjoy spending time creating maps. To maximize the amount of time you're able to do this, put effort into hiding puzzles, clues, hints, and story elements within the map. My players study my maps, looking for little clues among them. And that's just because a lot of my puzzles can be solved by directly looking at the map. If the players need to find an object, those objects will be hidden within the map. And I'll often use color coding or some kind of other hints and repetitive things to show the different aspects subtly within the map. For example, colors of fountains might be related to the pillars or chests within the map. Or in my minigame, you'll find that the holy statues within the church are also located within the garden that you find your champion in distress as he looks for guidance from the gods. And this mini campaign is on my Patreon for all free members, link in description. It's perfect for people who love to think outside the box and roleplay. Where some people thrive in the pre-planning, others thrive in the chaos, the act of improv. Watching as the story goes where even them as the DM never expected. This one can often seem like a challenge on how to spend more time doing it, but there are some things that we can really do to double down on that feeling of the unexpected for ourselves. The first solution is just to roll dice. Having tables allows you to create very random events and improv around them. But an even more chaotic solution is your players. You can go about this in several ways. For example, you could ask them for a random word and then you build a session off of it. Or if you want a very sandbox game feel, that is a little bit longer of a campaign, the key to doubling down is actually getting good at note-taking. My session feels like you can do almost anything. And because that's, well, you can. You can ask me if you want to do anything. I'll make a session about anything the players want. But the part that I double down on is that the world is reacting to these things that the players do. So as I'm playing, I'm keeping notes, not on everything that happens, but on the things I think I can chain an event off of. For example, my players stole a bunch of guard uniforms and sold them to a shady shopkeeper. Now the question I get to play off of is, what is that shopkeeper going to do with this newfound authority? This means if I don't want to, I don't have to think super far ahead. But the world still feels like it's evolving and changing in a way that players will really notice. Lights, props, and set the mood. Atmosphere is the king for the hopelessly romantic players, and everything has to be perfectly immersive. And honestly, you're gonna stand out in this one if you just love this thing. Things we can touch are just highly rememberable, and you're probably spending a ton of time working on your craft anyways. You probably don't need help there. So I'm just gonna cover the slightly uncommon problem if you have it. I love making props, but I hate actually making the session. And my advice for this is that you're probably making sessions and then props around them. Reverse that. Come up with the prop and make it a game to figure out how to work that prop into a session. Change your mental order. Instead of thinking, ugh, I have to make a session, try to think of it as, how can I make a world around this prop? Make it about the part you care about, no matter what that part is. Immerse yourself in your craft. Focus on the things you love doing and build a session around them, instead of building just a session so that you can occasionally do what you love. And don't forget to pick up my free mini campaign. If you've stuck around to this point, I'd love to hear what your favorite part of DMing is, and have a fantastic day.